Oops. All right, take it away. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is McKenna Burns. I am the program manager for Columbia Community Care. I take care of all of the bulk ordering and everything like that. And then I also lead the small business initiative, kind of like our community outreach portion of our organization.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Chavarria. I'm a Spanish teacher at Wild Lake High School and the founder of Columbia Community Care.
And I am Meg Paroli. I'm a substitute teacher at Oakland Mills High School, and I'm the operations manager. I oversee the volunteers and our site operations, and pretty much anything else that comes up.
So we just wanted to begin doing a land acknowledgement. This is something that is really important to our organization and who we are, making sure that we always recognize that the land on which we gather is stolen land. And so honoring the First Nations that came before us, that we are residing on their land. Specifically, the tribes that you see listed are Maryland, but understanding that in Howard County specifically, we are residing on Susquehannock land. We make sure that we ground ourselves in that knowledge and understanding, and hope that the message of paying honor to those whose land we stole is something that can be passed along to others. And we are going to just go into a little bit about the history of what we've done with Columbia Community Care and the way that we are operating currently. Brief history, I'm a teacher. I know my community. I know my students. I live in the community that I teach in. I live 29 seconds from the school that I teach at. I understand the needs of the community, and I've understood those needs being a member of my own community, but also because of my students well before the pandemic. And so students had been expressing to me their fears about what was going to happen when schools closed, understanding that many of our students, the only meals that they eat throughout the day are the ones they receive at school. I decided to just post a quick something on Facebook right before the schools were going to close back in March of 2020 to see if anyone would be interested in doing a little bit of an organized donations gathering of food items in order to supplement the school system's meals that they were hopefully going to be providing. We weren't sure at the time if they were going to or not. Long story short, that ended up becoming a Facebook page that I created, Columbia Community Care, invited 40 of the folks that had already been doing community work that also knew the community, and started gathering some Zoom calls, doing Zoom calls, gathering donations, and started developing a team of volunteers. We did an analysis of where the students were going, where the most frequented areas were of the county, where students were going to pick up their meals at those sites. And that's where we planted ourselves. Meg and McKenna came along very, from right in the beginning, and were there from, almost day one. And so now we have three main services that we do. We have home deliveries for those who do not have transportation or are otherwise unable to get to our sites for whatever reason. They may be ill, they may not be able to get there in the times that we are available. We have a small business initiative, which McKenna will talk about later. And we also have our sites where folks can go, and if they're actual physical donation sites where people go and pick up what they need for their homes. We have a core team of folks, three of which are on this call with you right now. And then we have a team of folks who are our site coordinators, who are the ones who manage the daily operations of our sites. We know that there are many other needs in the community, and we make sure that we focus on what we can handle, but there have been other sister Facebook sites that have grown out of Columbia Community Care, one of them being Howard County Cares and Shares, which is where folks can share or offer up anything that they have, furniture, bedding, toys, anything that's not food or household item related. And then over the summer fun for kids came up out of Columbia Community Care, understanding the need for students to have outdoor activities and fun things to do since everything was closed over the summer. One of the things that we put a major focus on, and we're very intentional about, are removing all barriers to access, because we know our community, we know what barriers exist in our community members and families in accessing services. So we make sure to remove those. We have translation sites to remove any barriers related to communication, our translation services. We have our delivery service for those who are unable to actually physically get to our sites. We do not require any sort of identification or proof of need, which is a major reason why I think we've been so successful. We maintain that we will make sure our folks at our sites don't feel intimidated or scared by police presence. So we have maintained police-free sites as well. And we also make sure that the sites that we do have that are in physical spaces are within walking distance for many of the members who are accessing our services, so that we can, people can get to our sites easily. And I will turn it over to McKenna.
So Columbia Community Care has a number of partnerships. Some of them came about as we got started with organizations who wanted to kind of jump in and help in ways that they could. And then some of them are fostered through the Small Business Initiative. All of our partnerships, we want to make sure that we're promoting mutual aid. So we help them, they help us, and we really create an ecosystem. So we partner with a lot of restaurants in the Common Kitchen in Clarksville, Anagata Delights. We partner with a lot of farms, Freetown Farm, Jenny's Market, all of which we're able to help and they're able to help us in the same respect. So just making sure that we're creating an ecosystem where everybody can benefit not only from what we're able to provide in terms of our services, but just from networking and working together.
And I will talk about the PTAs and the HCPSS have been very supportive. The PTAs and the schools that we are immediately from, Wild Lake, Oakland Mills, and the feeder schools to them jumped in immediately with donation drives. They donated money from their treasuries that they weren't using for in-school operations. They came on board very quickly and helped us a lot, especially in the very beginning. And HCPSS, of course, we used school property to plop our sites down, and we had very good cooperation from them with that. As far as our volunteer opportunities, we have, as you can see in the pictures, everything from small children to our 80-something-year-old volunteer who comes and helps us out at our sites. We work a lot with kids who need community service hours for church or scouts or through school requirements. Many of them have stayed on long after their community service needs were met. But we do have opportunities for everybody from coming to our sites, helping set up, put the food out, and the food out to the public, and clean up those sites, to going to our 2 pantry operations where they can shop for families who aren't able to get out for one reason or another and deliver the food directly to their homes. And we have people that are doing food drives on their own. We've had neighborhood community food drives and different things like that are other aspects where people can volunteer their time. That's as far as those things go.
Right. And then the last point of funding support, the beautiful thing about Columbia Community Care is that it is driven by the community. So a lot of our funding comes from donations, and we are extremely grateful every single time we see $1 come into our donation streams. And then we also work together to write grants. So we write grants together to target some larger funding that will sustain us for a longer period of time. But all of the money is something that goes directly back to the community, and we use it pretty much for operations only. So it's really nice to be able to put it all back to the community. And again, just in terms of our partnerships and initiatives, we've partnered with a lot of organizations like the Divine Nine, Black sororities and fraternities. Brawny has helped us, the paper towel company has helped us, Nothing But Cakes, just all different types of organizations and businesses who have really found a way to channel their niche and their expertise into what it is that we do, which is the whole point of mutual aid and working together as a community. And then in this slide, you'll see some pictures of some of the restaurants that we work with. So my job is to purchase meals with grant funds from small businesses and give those meals to our community members that wait in line. And it's really a beautiful thing because they not only get to take groceries home, but they get to take home hot meals that are healthy and nutritious. And we take a lot of time to make sure that we're researching the restaurants that are best for not only, I guess, ordering in bulk, but it's healthy for everybody that stands in our line.
Also, you can see Clyde's here on the right. It was a bittersweet day. Clyde's had been supporting us from almost the beginning. And on their last day when they were cleaning out their kitchen, they actually called us and gave us kind of first dibs to everything that they had in their kitchen, which was really a beautiful thing. Very bittersweet, sad that they closed, but yeah, definitely one of the beautiful things about the restaurant sharing is that our communities get to not only taste delicious, healthy food, but experience cuisines from around the world, and really do that kind of cultural interchange, cultural interchange, which is really a beautiful thing too. We are also very focused on making sure that we are learning and collaborating with our farms, local farms, and understanding how to grow our own food. We've done a lot of work with Freetown Farm and have established a really beautiful relationship there. We worked with the Chinese school to do, I forgot what it's called again. McKenna, help me out.
Grow boxes.
Grow boxes, I keep forgetting. Grow boxes where you can see that, we that day we were picking what we had been able to grow. That was an initiative of Equity for HC, Columbia Communities Care's fiscal sponsor, along with the Chinese school. So really learning about how to maintain our own communities for ourselves, how to sustain ourselves. We don't know what's going to happen in terms of food shortages across the world. And so when we learn how to grow our own, we make sure that we take care of one another and that we stay, providing what we need for ourselves. And so, you can see, children here bringing the youth into it, really learning all about food farming and growing and sustainable living. As Meg was mentioning earlier, we have a lot of young people that have really showed up for their own communities and done some beautiful work. We had this gentleman on the left who was building desks for our students that didn't have desks for online virtual learning. We've had many elementary schools, middle schools, all these PTAs that have reached out to us and really collaborated with us, done fundraisers for us. We had the Wild Lake Band boosters do a fundraiser through Mod Pizza. We've had students and young folks do, lemonade stands, hot chocolate stands, just really beautiful, creative ways to fundraise and donate, really honing in on their own passions and using their passions in creative ways to really give back to the community. We had a couple girls that were runners and ran on the track team and hadn't been able to run for a while for their specific teams, and they did 24 miles in 24 hours and raised money that way. It was on the news. It was really amazing. So we really just encourage the youth to get involved, but really to hone in on what they love to do and what their passions are, and to use those ways to channel into giving back to the community. We've been very fortunate to have been in the news. We were recognized by Senator Chris Van Hollen for what we were doing. We were in Best of Howard County. We won Best Volunteer Organization and Pandemic Hero. So we've been really grateful also to the Baltimore Sun that they've been really wonderful about highlighting the work that we're doing so that the word spreads out in the community. Also Columbia Inspired Magazine, which I think we have someone on from that magazine. Hi, thank you. have done some really beautiful spreads on what we have done, and that has been something that we rely on in order to get the word out for what we do. So we are very grateful for those recognitions and honors. I think that our success really comes down to several things you can see here, but I think first and foremost, we are our community. We live in our community, we know our community, we are from our community, this is us. And so we want to make sure that we are, when we are giving back, we don't think of this as an othering, right? A lot of times when there's charity work, people think of who they're donating to as the other, like there's a lot of othering. we are doing this because we are our community. And I think that we've been able to, again, remove the barriers to access that many other services, it's hard for people to access if they don't have an identification or if they have to prove their need or whatever the case may be. We work together. We have, our dream team is spectacular. The communication that goes on between us, the mutual respect, the love for one another, and also just creative fundraising, growing new leaders. We have volunteer opportunities for all ages and abilities, and just the amount of relationships we've been able to build throughout the community as well. And I think, that's what has led to the success of Columbia Community Care. Up next in our journey, we want to let everybody know that we are not going anywhere. In fact, we are expanding. Our dream and our goal now is to open Columbia Community Care Peace and Justice Center, where we're looking at not just providing needs for survival, but also we are educators and community members first and foremost. And so thinking about what the needs are of our community in a more holistic way in terms of education, in terms of tackling healthcare, agriculture, employment, economy, job market, all sorts of things that we're going to be providing in this Columbia Community Care Peace and Justice Center. We do have a Facebook page. We hope that you join it. We have a petition going around because we need to show the leaders of the county that make these decisions to fund or not fund or allow or not allow. We need to show them that we have community support for what we're doing. Community centers do save lives. We do not have anything of the kind. And although we hope that the location will be in the Wild Lake area, we are planning on providing free shuttle service from different neighborhoods across the county to be able to access the Peace and Justice Center. And it will be for all ages. We want elders to be able to share their expertise, knowledge, and wisdom with our youth and have those interchanges cross-generational. It'll be a beautiful place of healing, joy, love, sustainability, also looking at our displaced population so that they have somewhere to go that is safe. They can get a shower, access basic needs. We have a lot of plans. It'll be beautiful, and we hope that we can gather your support.
I think we have about 7 minutes for questions before they magically come in and shut us down. So if any of y'all have a few questions that you would like to ask Meg and McKenna and Erica here, now's your chance.
This is Anna. I was about to ask you what was next after COVID, right? Like if everybody goes back to school, then will this organization continue? And you just answer, and I love this. It's just wonderful, and my daughter, my kids, and I, we will definitely be helping with this. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anika, I think you had a question.
Hi, Anika.
I was just gonna, hi, Erica. I was like, hey, I know.
Excited to see you.
Quick question I had was just kind of with what you do and having that pulse, especially working with young people, this past Wednesday's events, how has that impacted your students that are in this demographic that need all of this help? I'd just be curious to hear if they spoke about how it made them feel and ways. I know the Peace and Justice Center, I just saw that. So I was like, yes, we definitely need that here. And how apropos to be able to use an example as to why. So I just was curious if you had any feedback from them.
Sure. So actually the day of, the events at the Capitol, we actually were open at our sites. And I think that we actually, and Meg can attest to this and McKenna as well, we saw a drop in numbers that
I was
night.
very concerned about that night.
So we know that it definitely had an impact on our own community, even though we're, 45 to an hour away from DC.
So they were fearful
for sure, fearful. What I will say is that my students that, we dropped anytime anything happens, my students and I talk real life. And so we postponed all lesson plans for the next day relating to Spanish. And we had a conversation, gave space for students to share. I gave them choices on whether they actually wanted to participate in a conversation or if they didn't want to, they could have done individual work. So you don't want to force anyone. But yeah, I think that there was definitely fear, confusion, sadness, anger, all of the emotions, and just to allow students and young people to have that space to decompress, to share in a safe way. I think that really is the goal of this community center, is to give students access to safety, joy, and opportunities that they do not have on a normal basis. I know a lot of my students in the Wild Lake area, once they leave Wild Lake High School, there is nowhere to go. And what happens, a lot of them get into trouble. I've seen so many times where they've had cops called on them, even though they weren't doing anything wrong. It's just, we know that people are quick to call the police, especially on Black and brown students. And so, to have a place where students can go, especially when these types of things happen, where they know that they can talk freely, they know that their voice will be heard. Our youth need to be heard. They are brilliant. They are not, they are much more brilliant than people give them credit for. They are not unaware of what is happening around them. And a lot of times the thing that we try to do is to allow them to understand how their own experiences fit into the larger context of the systems that are at play, right? Like, they know what they experience on a daily basis, but to understand how their own experiences fit into the larger context of what we're seeing, racism, inequities, all injustices, all sorts of things. I think that we're going to be tackling those systemic injustices through this community center. It's going to be intentionally anti-racist. We're going to be trying to create systemic change through the programs and opportunities that we will provide at this center, and tackling all the systems at play, right? We're looking at economics, we're looking at jobs, we're looking at agriculture, sustainable living, environmental justice, and then education that they do not get typically.
And one thing I can say, Anika, too, the night at working at the sites that night, the volunteers were all very grateful to have something like that to go to in the face of everything that was going on. They're like, thank God we are, as a community, doing what needs to be done for each other. And they were extremely grateful. And the people that were coming to our sites were extremely grateful to have us there. So that was a very touching way of looking at things.
That's awesome. I often think that students don't get hurt a lot, so it's great to hear.
Never, absolutely.
It's not only important for that day, but we have a few weeks that things can happen, and things are still happening, planning taking place, change of leaders and all of that. I'm certain will be on their minds. I know it's on the minds of many adults. So we need to be vigilant in keeping our eyes and ears open to their feelings and thoughts.
Absolutely.
Hardy, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, I just had a comment and question. I just wanted to thank Erica, McKenna, and Meg. Your leadership on this Envision is just incredible. And what you shared, you saw a need and you acted, right? And that's a great example to be setting for the community and our kids. So
Right, that's true.
thank you. And so I was curious, so you saw one need and it's really evolved from that. And I love your bigger vision. It really resonates with a lot of what I believe too. Have there been individuals who have come to you and said, these are some other barriers that we see, or has there been a dialogue with the community? And I'm guessing yes, because just of what you've shared, but if you could give us a little insight into that and how it's unfolded.
So I think, I'm going to just briefly answer, and then Megan, McKenna, feel free to step in. I think this has been a growing process, right? Like, we learn all the time, and we are incredibly reflective. And anytime we hear anything that is some sort of advice or criticism or problem or whatever the case may be, we take that into consideration and we act immediately. So there have been many. We realized that we weren't providing some languages that needed to be provided, and we made sure to do that. So many, yes, the short answer is yes. And I know we have very little time.
1
So
minute,
McKenna or Meg, if you want to jump in with that.
Just to jump
Okay,
in.
we've
Oh,
grown
sorry.
and adapted. We've grown and adapted as this has gone on, and it's been incredible to watch.
And then we also are able to target a lot more areas of concern through our partnerships. So that's the beautiful part about that and the mutual aid and community outreach is being able to work with other leaders who are working towards the same goal, thinking about doing things differently, other leaders that want to fight for what it is that we're fighting for, and we're able to do that through our community outreach and our partnerships. So we do that with a number of partners. Yeah.
I want to quickly say thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you to McKenna, Erica, and Meg for being here, and thank you for what you do every day to make our community better. And
Welcome back.